I love video games. It is by a very wide margin my absolute favorite hobby slash pastime slash, well, part of my work. And I've been doing it all of my life. And I do mean that literally. One of my very earliest memories, I would have been maybe 3, was playing a video game. Unfortunately, it was Pac-Man on the Atari 2600, well known to be the absolute worst port of Pac-Man in all of human existence, but I didn't know that at the time. I had no frame of reference. All I knew is video game fun also meant I could avoid eye contact and talking to the people around me, which was, nice. But from those early days of gaming, mostly solo or at the very most couch co-op style stuff, and eventually as I grew over and video gaming evolved, came the arcades, which meant multiplayer with randoms potentially, usually my mates, but sometimes randoms. However, there was an important difference between the experience of multiplayer back then in the arcades and the experience of multiplayer today when it comes to playing with randoms, and that is, you were standing next to the person you were playing with in arcades, which means if they were an outrageous dick, or you were an outrageous dick, chances are you'd cop a punch in the face. Today's online environment, of course, means we are all protected behind our screens and our keyboards, so people with a predilection towards being dickheads feel freer to do so than ever before because they don't have any immediate real-world repercussions, or at least not the type that include getting punched in the face. So before we get onto this video proper, I ask you, what is your most hated, most least favorite, or eye-rollingly tedious kind of online behavior or misbehavior, as it were? What brings me to this topic today is I was watching a video from another YouTuber this morning, someone who I have a lot of respect for as far as the content goes, very level-headed, very calm, thoughtful, insightful, fantastic stuff. I'll link it down below. Josh Strife Hayes. And the video he put up today is about casuals versus hardcore video game players. And those are some terms that are usually thrown around to the extremes. Casual, normally sort of spat out at the side of your mouth, meaning just casuals, and hardcore, meaning, oh God, that type of arrogant prick. And the rest of us like to think of ourselves as somewhere in the middle. Hopefully, anyway. Anyone who self-describes as hardcore, probably an asshole. Anyone who self-describes as casual probably just means they like to take things in a relaxed manner. But when a hardcore player uses the word casual, very, very different. Now, in Josh's video, he very briefly touched on this kind of elitism and bullying, but I wanted to drill down into it a bit more. So I started thinking about how I'm going to make a video about that, because it's something I wanted to touch on, because it's something that's been on my mind a lot recently with New World launching, being the first game in quite some time that I'm planning to really dive into that has multiplayer, but also has significant amounts of PvP players in there. Because almost all the multiplayer games that I've really gotten into in recent times have been largely PvE only. Things like Monster Hunter, things like Phantasy Star Online, New Genesis, before that Dauntless. They're pretty much exclusively PvE, so the community inside them tends to get along quite well. Everyone's supportive, encouraging, wants other people to learn how to be better because we're on the same side. And I've very much enjoyed that, but of course with New World, being an MMO, and it has various PvP modes in it, including being able to flag for PvP in the open world, the elitism for self-proclaimed hardcore and the snobbishness of, sneering at casual players has been at the forefront of my mind again. But as luck would have it, as I'm trying to figure out how to frame up this discussion this morning, the beta client for New World dropped. We can install it now. I mean, the servers aren't going to be live for another 18-ish hours as I record this, something like that. But you can pre-install the client, get ready to go. It boots up and loads. And one of the first things you see is their code of conduct stuff. So I thought we'd have a look at that and use that as a frame of reference for the kinds of behavior we're talking about, the kinds of behavior you might experience. Which ones do you hate most? Do you spot any loopholes, more importantly? Those of you who are far more experienced than I in dealing with PvP elitism and that kind of aggressiveness, what kind of behaviors are you seeing that might be able to sneak through the loopholes here? Because it seems like a very good code of conduct. It is simply titled Amazon Games Code of Conduct. If I were in charge, I would have called it the 10 Commandments for not being a dickhead, because there are 10 main rules, and the only rule I have for my Twitch chat is Whedon's Law, named after Will Wheaton, of course. Shut up, Wesley. Who coined the phrase, don't be a dick as he's kind of just one simple rule for interacting with people. And I like that very much because it says it all. Just don't be a dick, or just try really hard not to be a dick. I sometimes fail Whedon's Law myself. I know I can be a bit impulsive and aggressive sometimes. I can be a dick, but I try not to be. And I think we all should try not to be a dick. Let's have a look at the rules. You know what? I'm going to move my microphone up. I'm going to do this in a podcasty voice to make it sound more impactful and more official. Amazon Games Code of Conduct. At Amazon Games, we ask all players to follow some simple guidelines to protect themselves, each other, and the community from the behavior that can reduce enjoyment of our games for everyone. In addition to our terms of service, this code of conduct applies to all our games and services. Number 1, foster a friendly, positive community. Your unique contributions to our community will help it be more diverse and satisfying for everybody. Be kind, create new relationships with other players, and be your best self. Number 2, focus on the game. Keep your content and contributions helpful and relevant to others in the community. Help us stay spam-free by not posting promotional content, advertising, and other types of commercial solicitations. I wonder if that applies to the people who spam their guild stuff in in-game chat, because, oh my god, that's boring. Especially the ones who don't use the special channel in chat for the guild stuff. Stop it. Very annoying. Number 3, keep your language in check, fuckface. I added that last bit for comedic effects because otherwise this can be a bit dry. Help us foster a positive, diverse community. Hateful or vulgar content is unacceptable, including but not limited to prejudiced and demeaning comments or imagery or video about race, gender, sexuality, nationality, ethnicity, religion, age, and disability, or use of category-based slurs, references to sexual violence, threats of violence, and participating in or encouraging illegal activities. So I should be fine then. Nothing about swearing there. As an Australian, it can be hard to pull back sometimes. So we're allowed to swear, but I would still keep it in check. Use the softer swears. Don't use the C word. Coconut. This applies to all areas in-game, such as chat, shared content, and in-game character, guild, and team names. Yeah, I did see some people running around in the preview and even in some of the alphas with names that rhyme or otherwise are slightly misspelled versions of terms which would fall under this particular set of rules. So if you're just trying to be funny or you think you're a meme lord, I would watch your step because I can't see them being very tolerant of this. Number 4, respect the community and each other. We want to create a welcoming environment for all types of gamers, from noobs to veterans. Harassment, bullying, aggression, insults, threats, or verbal abuse have no place in Amazon Games. So I guess it turns out you can swear, but don't call other people swear names because that's directed abuse and bullying. So if you die, you can say, "Oh shit," but don't call someone else a shithead. Perhaps I think is the rule here. Unless you're Australian, and that can be a term of endearment. But, you know, context is key, and who's going to read the chat when someone reports you for it? Who knows? Given that there are circumstances where our community may meet IRL, e.g. at Amazon Games sanctioned events, we may also take action against users for hateful conduct or harassment targeted at members of our community that occurs outside of our games and services in extraordinary circumstances. So I do like this as well. If you're just a tremendous dick, you're part of this games community, you're a tremendous dick to someone else in the games community, it's probably going to have to be a fairly extreme example, not just, you know, calling someone a dickhead at a convention or something. I like that this is in the rules because it gives them a little wiggle room to take care of people who are problematic for the community as a whole and the reputation and sort of attitude and the feel of it. Even if they try, you know, and pretend to be nice people in-game, if they're complete assholes outside a game, it's nice to see that this is here just to try and remove them from the community and ruining everybody's reputation. I don't know. What do you feel about that? I know some people feel fairly strongly about this kind of stuff because it has happened in other games. People do stuff outside of a game or outside of the Twitch community, for example, and you know, Twitch streamers have been banned for you know, stuff they've done away from Twitch because it reflects poorly and stuff like that. And a lot of people feel pretty strongly one way or the other about whether or not that should be allowed. So how do you feel about it reflecting an in-game use? I'm for it, frankly. Number 5, play fair. Cheats, hacks, bots, or other software or services that modify the game, exploit glitches, or otherwise give you an unfair advantage can ruin the experience for everybody else. We reserve the right to determine what constitutes cheating and take corrective action we deem appropriate. Fairly self-explanatory. Number 6, your account is yours. Selling, trading, or sharing accounts, including in-game items and in-game currencies, violates our terms of use for a variety of reasons. Your account is yours and yours only. Now, yes, there could be some legitimate reasons to share an account, for example, but there has to be this kind of blanket rule in place to prevent people who abuse this from, using it as a loophole. So if that's kind of inconvenient for you in a legitimate use case scenario, too bad, basically. But I can't see them enforcing it. Like if you get caught sharing an account, and are they going to just blanket enforce it, or are they going to take a more subtle approach to it and find out, exactly what's happening? So maybe family members are sharing an account, husband and wife team, I don't know. But I do think it's important to have this rule sort of seem as airtight as possible, just to save them a lot of fuss when it does come to people who are using it for unfair or nefarious purposes. Number 7, protect yours and others' privacy. For your protection, never share passwords in forums or elsewhere. It's so sad this has to be written down. Amazon's games and the dev teams will never ask you for your password, so if anyone asks you for your password, do not give it to them. I feel like anyone dumb enough to just give their password in the clear for someone claiming to be from Amazon or something probably won't bother to read these kind of rules to begin with, because they're probably illiterate. Is that too mean? Never post or share content that may reveal private, personal information about others without permission. Don't dox people, basically. Online multiplayer games are public. You should expect others to see what you do and say. So act like you would do if you were actually in public. Perhaps with some cops nearby, just to make you extra paranoid about being on your best behavior. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Griefing, throwing matches, boosting, win trading, trolling, falsely reporting another player for abuse, pretending to be someone else, such as Amazon Games or Twitch employees, sharing unreleased or confidential materials, and posting obscene or hateful images or video are all examples of poor behavior that warrant disciplinary action because they diminish the experience for all others. So I'm part of a Discord for a guild or company, as they're called in this game. They do have a not safe for work channel in the Discord, and there is some aggressively not safe for work stuff being posted in there at the moment. I don't think this is what they're talking about. I think they're mainly talking about sort of directly in game. It is, the Discord thing is hidden behind a button that says, are you okay seeing this kind of content and stuff like that? So I don't think that will be so much of a problem. I think this is specifically more specific about in-game as opposed to the last couple of things we're talking about with in real life consequences. Number 9, accept disciplinary action. So no bitching and whining about being banned for no reason. Nobody ever gets banned for no reason. You may not agree with the reason. If you're suspended, circumventing it by creating new accounts or asking others to act on your behalf will not net the results you seek. So if you get banned, just going after a new account, they're not going to be real tolerant of that if they catch you doing it. Asking others to speak up on your behalf, and I imagine this is a reference to some sort of social media campaign, like, hashtag unban X pussy liquor X. Why that name, Blunty? Why? For the sake of anyone on YouTube reviewing this for advertiser friendliness, the pussy I was referring to is a cat, and the liquor in question is another cat. Perfectly normal cat behavior. It's grooming. The good kind of grooming, not the bad kind of grooming that... Moving on. Suspension evasion will not only increase the length of suspension, it could result in a ban. Additionally, it is a distraction to the broader community to discuss disciplinary actions. Not sure I agree with that. If you want to appeal or have questions about the disciplinary action, please contact us. So we're not even allowed to talk about disciplinary actions. It is a distraction to the broader community to discuss disciplinary actions. They don't mention that's kind of a violation. They said it's a distraction. They don't want it to happen. They don't want people discussing why people were banned, I suppose. Can't see that happening. Weird. Number 10. If you see something, say something. If you come across a player violating the code of conduct, please notify us. Snitches get stitches. My advice for that would be to not immediately be a little Dobby Debbie, but perhaps if you notice they're part of a company, maybe find a leader of that company and say, hey, spotted this player being a colossal, monstrous gobshite in the game. Maybe have a chat to them because it reflects on your reputation as a company. And if you don't get the good response from that, then report the player, I suppose. I feel like there's a few steps to take before. I mean, it depends on the behavior you're reporting, I suppose. I think for the smaller stuff, softer hand. Please note that while we included a few representative examples above, this is not an exhaustive list of things you shouldn't do. In other words, don't look for loopholes, we'll still smack you. Accordingly, to protect the integrity of our community and foster a safe and fun space in which to play, we reserve the right to suspend any account or take other disciplinary actions at any time for any conduct that we determine to violate the spirit of this code of conduct or otherwise find to be inappropriate or harmful to the community. So there's your loophole closer clause right there. It's basically saying anything you do that we think violates the spirit of don't be a dick, we reserve the right to spank you for it, whether or not it's explicitly in words here. So don't be a cheeky little bastard and try and find a loophole or try and argue your way around it. If you're a dick, you're going to get treated like a dick and you're going to get blocked or suspended or banned or whatever they decide is the appropriate punishment for whatever you've been caught doing. I like that language being in there. Some people will argue that that's too broad. Well, they can ban you for anything. If they can ban you for anything. If they decide that if mentioning Trump in the chat is a bannable offense, they'll ban you, and censorship and the lefties are. You know it's going to happen. You can hear the echo of that argument already. It's ridiculous. If they abuse it, it's going to be a problem. I don't think they will. Almost every code of conduct has something like this in it to just, like I said, it's explicitly saying, don't look for loopholes. Just because it's not written here in the words and specific to what you do, if you're a dickhead, you're going to get treated like a dickhead. So just calm your pants. Such actions may include a strike on the account, restricting the account, suspending the account, and permanently banning the account, resulting in forfeiture of in-game items, in-game currency balances associated with the account. So, yeah, if they ban you, it's all gone. Everything you've earned, everything you've spent on, even the real money stuff, never coming back. You're not getting a refund. No, it's nothing. We may update this code of conduct as our games and community evolve. So in other words, if someone does find a particularly wide loophole, well, they're just going to update the terms, which is sensible enough. So you can't use the argument, well, that wasn't in the rules when I first agreed to them. Well, yeah, there it was, because they said they can change the rules, so... In the end, their game, their rules, really. It's not a freedom speech thing. This is a private company with a product and things. They can set whatever rules they like. If you don't like the rules, then don't play, basically. But don't whine about them like a little bitch. So I don't know about you, but I feel like that covers pretty much all the crappy behavior that we usually see. You still got the crappy behavior that happens sort of within the community, especially PvPers. And I know, hashtag not all PvPers, but the PvPers who are loudest are the kind of just aggressively bullyish dickheads who just, roam around in groups and pick on single players and things. All this classic stuff that makes people hate PvPers of this type. PvP can be completely fun, can be completely fair when approached with respect and, intent and everything, but there are just a small percentage of PvPers out there that ruin the reputation of PvPers as a whole, I feel. And especially if you've been reading some of the PvP self-proclaimed hardcore PvP types in the forums and Reddit and stuff who keep bitching about free-for-all PvP being taken out of this game almost 2 years ago in development, and they're still whining about it and still calling casual players or people who like PvE Care Bears and little softies too afraid of conflict. Just get over it. Grow up, get over it, stop being a dick about it. Anyway, I think this video wound up being a lot longer than I intended to be. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you very much. Thank you to the patrons, as per usual, of course, as well. Thank you very much for watching. I am Blunty, and we'll catch you next time, and I will see you on Twitch. Within 18 hours of this going live, I suppose, we'll be streaming on Twitch. Day 1, hour 1, we're there.